So we need to talk about what has to happen before this conversion.
Yeah, let's talk about that. There are 4 things in the AIM retirement system, 4 goals. Number 1, the main goal is to maximize chances of retirement success.
Yep.
Number 2 is to increase or maximize your income stability, reduce your reliance on the stock market. Goal number 3, and these are in order. Goal number 3 is to reduce taxes as much as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And number 4, once you've done the first 3 things, is what smart moves can we make to just maximize the multi-generational wealth, not only of us, but perhaps our children. Okay. And those 4 things in those orders.
Mm-hmm.
The Roth conversion specifically tackles point number 3, reducing taxes, and point number 4, multi-generational wealth. Before you are tackling a Roth conversion, you have to go through the process of a detailed level 5 financial plan. Roth conversion is one of the last things you tackle, right?
Yeah.
So what would be some examples of things you need to know before you even start to consider a Roth conversion?
One of the biggest factors in any financial plan is the expenses. People don't know what they're spending.
We saw that yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
People they don't have a clue what their expenses are. Don't think about a Roth conversion until you and your financial advisor have dialed in what you're going to spend in your retirement. What else?
So you need to optimize your Social Security. When are you going to collect?
You have to know your Social Security optimal strategy. When are you going to start Social Security? You can't start thinking about a Roth until you know when Social Security is going to start, right?
Mm-hmm.
The two are kind of go hand in hand, but let's figure out that Social Security first. What else?
What is your investment strategy going to be during retirement or up to retirement?
Are you going to be in an aggressive portfolio? Have you and your advisor decided you're a conservative investor? What's appropriate for you?
Mm-hmm.
We need to know these things and more. So the whole point is before the conversion, the details matter about your financial plan.
Yep.
After you have figured out what your main financial plan looks like, then you can tackle Roth conversions.
Mm-hmm.
There's a few things we do need to talk about, some specific logistics, coordination.
Yeah. Now that you've had the ability to stomach tax payments, Brandon, do you think that's something we should talk about?
Yeah, the tax payments are a big deal for people. I mean, even if they're for a Roth conversion, the tax payments can put them off.
Okay. I've seen it. We've seen it. Gone through the entire AIM retirement system. 95% chance of retirement success. Now we're tackling Roth conversions. We show and prove to a couple who is nearing retirement that a Roth conversion strategy is going to save them 6 figures in taxes. They can see it, but it's scary. Why? Why is it scary?
It's the taxes. I mean, where are the taxes coming from? How are we paying for the taxes? And just the bill itself is overwhelming sometimes.
So here's the example that really typifies what we're talking about here, okay? I saw this video the other day. Somewhere in the world, there's a huge canyon that there's this bridge that goes across it, and it's got a glass floor. So as you're walking across the canyon, you can see down thousands of feet or whatever. People are walking across this, and the one person just can't do it. I'm one of those people. I'm scared to death of heights.
Mm-hmm. Same.
I know that in my mind, this bridge is sturdy. I've just watched 5 people walk across it to the other side. But for some reason, I can't do it.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people, not a lot, some people that we've seen understand that this is a safe thing, understand that this is a good thing, but they just can't do it. When we say a Roth conversion will save you 6 figures, but it's going to cost you this year $40,000 in taxes, $50,000 in taxes, that's something you have to be aware of if you're going to do a Roth conversion.
Mm-hmm.
This could be a scary thing. But if you get over that fear, you have to have a Roth, right?
Yeah.
So why would you set up a Roth ahead of time?
You want to start a Roth sooner than later.
You want to
If
start
you
a
throw
Roth
10 bucks
sooner
in
than
it,
later.
Mm-hmm.
There's the 5-year clock rule, which we'll get into later.
Yeah. I mean, you have to have a Roth IRA set up, right? You have to have this landing zone for this Roth. Because remember what we talked about. You've got this money over here in your 401k or your IRA, and it's going to be moved in a Roth conversion to a Roth. You have to have that Roth IRA set up. It's like the landing zone. And the longer you have that landing zone in place, the better we'll talk about that. Typical strategy, what is it? Like, how are we deciding how we're going to do this? What's a typical example of a Roth conversion? What's strategy?
Yeah, most Roth conversions we're looking at keeping someone in the 22 to 24% tax bracket, and we're looking at how much their income is and how much we can squeeze into that tax bracket.
Right. So it's like, okay, Mr. Customer, you're working today. You and your wife are in the 24% tax bracket. Once you retire, you're not going to be in that 24% tax bracket. But by doing a Roth conversion, you're still going to be paying taxes, even though you're not working. But we're going to keep you in that 24% tax bracket. Generally speaking, the sweet spot for Roth conversions that we've seen is that 22, 24% tax bracket. We very rarely do anything in the 30s.
Mhm.
Just doesn't make sense. But because of that, it's spread out over time. Now, we have to talk about coordination with a CPA. So I'm going to give you an example. Mr. and Mrs. Customer decide they're going to do a Roth conversion. It's going to be in the first year, they're going to take $200,000 out of their IRA and they're going to convert to the Roth. How do we know that it's $200,000? How do we know the amount?
We work a lot with a CPA, and since we're a level 5 advisor, we can just go down the hall and talk to our CPAs. How much can we convert to keep them within that tax bracket that we have set for them?
Yeah. And so is that pretty easy? Like we have CPAs here. So how does that work for you, Andrea? Like
Yeah,
just
I
talk
mean,
me through it.
yeah.
I'm a customer. How does that work?
Well, literally, the office next to mine is a CPA. So I just walk in there and we have a discussion about this particular client and what tax bracket they need to be in. And, if we can convert 200,000 for your example, then they have to pay 40,000 in taxes. And then the logistics of that,
Right.
are we able to use a taxable account? Are we making estimated tax payments?
Right. So let's be clear. We said maybe a good strategy might be to do a Roth conversion, but keep you under the 24% tax bracket. What that number is, it could be $190,000, it could be $210,000. We don't know how much are you going to convert to keep you under that 24% tax bracket.
Mm-hmm.
The answer lies within your tax return. Unfortunately, you have to do the conversion in a calendar year. We don't know what your tax return is going to look like. So we need a CPA, generally November, early December timeframe, who knows what your tax return is going to look like so they can tell us this is the amount that we need to convert this year.
Mhm.
It helps if you have an advisor with CPA sitting there. Otherwise, what are we doing? We're trying to talk to somebody's outside CPA.
Yeah.
It's just a nightmare. And you touched on it. So let's be clear. When you convert $200,000, if that's the number, there's a tax bill associated with that. Let's say it's $40,000. There's two ways that you can pay that $40,000. What's the first way?
The first way is you can just move 160,000 into your Roth from your traditional IRA, and that 40,000 goes straight to the government.
So $200,000 sitting in your 401k on day one. You do the $200,000 conversion. The next day you have 160 in your Roth, and 40 has gone to Uncle Sam, which is not as good as option two, which is what?
Taking the money out of either a bank or a taxable account and paying the tax bill so that total 200 moves into the Roth.
So now you have the full 200 that's been moved from your 401k or IRA into your Roth. Now you're maximizing the benefits of a Roth. Now you do have to have a checking account or a taxable investment account with $40,000 saying not everyone has that.
Yeah.
But the more money you have sitting on the sidelines to pay the taxes, the more you can maximize the Roth benefit. And of course, it goes without saying, your tax return, if you do a Roth conversion, there's special forms you have to fill out, but that's just some of the details that people ask about. What does the tax return look like? It has an extra form on it. Okay, what's the next topic we need to discuss of questions that people have been asking us about the details of a Roth conversion?
There's definitely some timing to it, and monitoring and adjustments have to go on as well.
You don't do all this at once.
Nope.
Yeah, generally, some of our clients are doing this in a 3-year period. Some are doing it a 10-year period. Some people are dragging this out for 20 years. It just depends.
Yeah.
Okay. Like I said, when we do a conversion, it's usually at the end of the year. We're working with a CPA, but there might be opportunities where you might want to do this Roth conversion at a different time of the year. What would be an example of that?
Yeah, I know in 2022, we did a lot of them earlier in the year just because the market was down. So you convert while it's down. And then when the market comes back up, it's recovering in the Roth.
Right. So you want growth in the Roth IRA. And so it makes sense that you're going over this bridge, you're paying a toll. You want the toll to be as low as possible. It just makes sense that if the market is down, the opportune time to do a Roth conversion might not be in November, might not be in early December. It might be like 2022 when the market was going down because Russia had invaded Ukraine and the market was tanking.
Yep.
Now, I was thinking about that though. Some of those conversations were hard conversations because in 2022, people were watching their portfolios go down. We talk to clients. We keep them from going crazy. We try and stop them from being too emotional.
Yeah.
But that conversation is hard because your portfolio is down 10, 12, 13%. And now we're calling you up and saying, hey, let's do a Roth conversion right now.
And let's write a check to the government.
Yeah.
For however much in tax
It's a hard
got.
conversation, but if you're just really following the gauges, it's the right time to do it. So it can happen where the timing of this is not at the end of the year. Sometimes if there's a mid-year crisis, we will do it in the middle of the year. But generally speaking, end of the year makes sense. And let's just say that once you decide to do a Roth conversion, we reevaluate every year.
Yep.
Right? Things change. Circumstances change. Life changes around us. And tax rates can certainly change. So if this is a 3, 5, or 10-year type of thing, we want to do that and not just set it and forget it. We want to start it and monitor it. That's important to say. And lastly, we have some thoughts and considerations. Can you undo a Roth conversion?
No.
Okay. For some reason, this scares people. But remember what you're doing. You're taking money and putting it into a bucket called a Roth. And this bucket will ever be taxed ever again.
Nope.
No. Will your kids pay taxes on this?
No.
So while you can't undo a Roth, it's hard for me to think of a scenario where you can't undo it. You can't recharacterize it. That doesn't scare me. But it should be said that once you move this into a Roth, you can't undo it.
Yep.